Hey everyone, and welcome back to the KOEIGO Makes channel. Today I wanted to kind of get back into the groove since we've had a lot of stuff going on with our after-school programs and our summer camps over the last few weeks. I haven't had a chance to record, just been way too overwhelmed with trying to interview new people, to fill in positions, to negotiate contracts, and trying to get our courses launched across Okinawa as we expand and try and provide more opportunities for young students to learn this kind of stuff. We are a STEAM and language school primarily. I'm Chief Technology Officer of the school, and it's my job to come up with a lot of our technology courses and curriculum, find people who can do this stuff, teach them the way that we do it, and try and get them out to all the students out here so that people can kind of get up to speed on the world as it's changing so fast, especially with artificial intelligence and all the other stuff that's been going on in life. But that's what we're here to do. And that's part of what this channel is for, is to try and, get people spun up on all this really cool technology that exists in this era, and give people kind of put some of the creative power in the hands of so many of you out there. Give you a chance to see how to use these tools. They are a little intimidating at first, so it's great to have somebody who's constantly got hands on these tools to kind of give you the shortcuts and insights so that you can be more creative and more successful in the things that you're trying to make at home. And part of that, part of what drives the 3D design stuff that we do is that, there's all these great 3D printers out there that are hitting the markets that, I get a lot of parents and a lot of people that approach me and say, I've got a 3D printer at home, but I have no idea how to do anything. So it's great to be able to get this stuff out there and create an opportunity for those people to learn how to create their own stuff instead of just downloading what's on the internet and printing it off, which can be exciting at first, but it does kind of lose its luster. But if they can make their own stuff, it's a great opportunity for them to express themselves and see how easy it is, potentially easy it is for some people to get into this stuff and learn more about it and do cool stuff. So, all right, without further ado, today's topic, I wanted to do something. Now, this is by request, and it's our channel, the KOEIGO Makes channel, is mostly focused on things kind of Japanese related. We kind of try and stay on those topics. And so I feel like this one isn't too far off, and you'll have to forgive me for capitalizing on this opportunity. I just get so many requests to do this one from students, from other parents, and from my other instructors. They've asked me to do this as well, is to make a Labubu character and show the process of what it's like to make a Labubu character. So that's what we're gonna do today. I picked out an image of a Labubu off of the internet that I think might be reasonable. It's kind of cute. It's got some different textures, so there's lots of opportunities to learn to apply different textures, learn how to extract things in different ways to create different effects, so that we can learn how to use, this one's definitely going to involve using a masking tool around the head to extract some fur. It'll definitely use our primitive shapes. We're probably going to use a couple ellipses or spears for the head. For the ears, obviously, we'll do some masking on those to kind of pull them out or push them in to give them some depth. Let's see here. We'll probably end up using an array tool across the bottom of the mouth to create the kind of shark teeth looking effect that Labubu characters have. And let's see here. We'll probably use an inflate tool to kind of bring out the eyebrows the way they're accented. And let's see here. We'll probably use some masking and extraction to get the clothing done. And get we'll do some texturing on the, it looks like corduroys or something like that, that the Labubu character that we have here is wearing. But anyway, we'll do this as a basic tutorial. So for those of you who have never done stuff before, you are welcome to view this tutorial with us. Follow along as best you can. It's probably going to be a little bit heavier than some of my other projects just because there is a lot going on here. And so if you want to step back into maybe a simpler tutorial, you can look through the channel and see if you find something that you think is appropriate. We'll start off. We've got a new project, brand new project. We'll click on this image tool up here at the top. We'll come down. We're going to turn on our reference image. We'll go ahead and select an image that we've pulled off the internet. We can use this transform tool. Move this down and off to the side somewhere. I usually keep my images off to the bottom right, but you can put it wherever makes you comfortable. You just slide that into position and we'll hit our home button and bring in this initial sphere into view. And let's see here. Let's go ahead and, I mean, we can use this sphere. It's not really a big deal if we use this sphere. Let's see here. It's like 98K, so it's fine. We could use this. We're going to use our camera tool up here at the top right to kind of control our view of things. So we're going to go ahead and use that to pan to the front or to the right. And we can slide it down to see the top view and then front view again. It's really important that you learn early on to control your camera, because if you lose control of your camera, it's very easy to get disoriented in your project, move things, well, not where they need to be. And then you end up wasting a bit of time. Up here on the top left, we've got this symmetry, and you see mine's highlighted red. Yours could be highlighted whatever UI color that you have for yours. I just have red, softer on the eyes. But I'm going to have that one enabled for now. We have the x-axis or x-plane enabled as well. And when you click through these, you'll see these lines show up on whatever object you're working on. This one is set to, right now, you can see this method is set to world symmetry. Now, what that means is if I grab my gizmo tool and I move it away from that center line, and I have that symmetry enabled, I'm moving things around, it's going to be a little bit off from the object itself. We always, I say always, but for the most part, you're going to be sticking with local symmetry. So it's local to the object that you're actually working on. World symmetry is useful in a couple of cases, but it's more often than not, you're working on the symmetry of the actual object that you have selected. In this case, we've got our sphere selected. We've got that symmetry enabled. We're going to be working mostly in our X symmetry. And one thing that I like to do is I like to show the line. You can also show the plane, but I like to at least show the line for the symmetry. That way I can kind of see where the center of my object is before I start doing stuff. And as we can see here, I'm able to move something. I'm able to move the object with the symmetry turned on. And that stretches the object. And if I have it turned off, I simply move the object. So this is moving the object with symmetry turned off. Turning it on will stretch my object. And just a little bit interesting. I think that's a new behavior. I don't remember it being like that before. Maybe it's always been like that. Maybe somebody can correct me in the comments, but I'm pretty sure when symmetry used to be on before, if you used your gizmo tool to move like this, it just moved the whole thing and didn't stretch it like that, which is, I mean, I guess that's fine. It's not really a big deal. Anyway, we're going to leave it turned on And what we need to do is we need to try and match the base shape. We're going to start with a head. We're going to have our gizmo tool selected. And we need to create this kind of egg-like shape, melon-like shape, maybe, of the Labubu's head. And so that means we need to grab this. If you see this red circle, we're going to stretch that out a bit like that. I mean, the Labubu's head is mostly circular, but it's slightly melon-shaped, right? So we'll take a look at that. That should be okay. So again, our circles kind of similar to when you have symmetry on and you're using the arrow, but the circles stretch. Maybe not quite the same way as having symmetry does stretching. But that stretches, the red will stretch in the horizontal X direction. And then we have the green direction stretching. We can stretch this way with the circle in the Y direction. And then Z direction, which is our blue direction, we've got a blue dot and we can stretch out in that direction. I'm just going to go back to roughly the slightly stretched out shape like that. And we can even kind of put it over his head, the Labubu's head, and see if we got roughly the right shape. And if you want to line things up perfectly, you can also come up here to the material, this material menu, and you can click on, let's see here, I think it's blending and then opacity, and we can turn the opacity down and you can kind of see through if you need to. If you're trying to get like an exact match on a particular shape for a particular object. As we can see, there is some slight variance in the shape of the Labubu's head here, but that might be due to like the fur being a little bit longer on top than it is on the sides. Maybe less to do with the actual head itself, but that seems to be fine. With that check in place, we can just reset the opacity, set it back to opaque, and close that out. Okay, so now we've got a choice of things that we can work on here. It looks like, in my opinion, the eyeballs might be the first thing that's appropriate to work on. And I've done eyes in many different ways. It looks like these eyes, the Labubu's eyes, are pretty simple. And in order to do these, what I would do is I would just come in with a mask, and I would just draw the mask with my symmetry on, making sure that I'm set to local. I've got local symmetry on. And then we want to take a look at the proportions of the Labubu. I'm just going to line up the grid that I have turned on down here. I have this grid turned on down here. And I'll just line the center right on his nose, it looks like. And we've got, I accidentally reversed all my hard work. Yeah. So, by the way, 2-finger tap will take you forward or backward in time. So if you end up accidentally holding 2 fingers down for a little bit, it could just like completely reverse all the work that you've been doing. To fix that, just come down to the bottom and tap your redo button, and that'll fix that. Okay, so it looks like the nose is slightly, if we put that grid kind of dead center on his head, the nose is kind of far down from the center. So it's more like the nose is around right here. I might actually just add in a primitive circle for now to help us mark that spot, just so we can kind of see it. And I want to reset all of our translation on these objects for now. To do that, you'll have your gizmo tool selected. Select your menu up here and then hit the reset buttons here off to the side, particularly for your translation. And that'll get us back at center. And then select that new sphere that we made. We'll pull it out here. We'll shrink it down a bit. And for now, I just want to put this in a position where I can use it as a visual reference for where this guy's nose is. And roughly the proportion. Yeah, something like that. And it's not center, but not too far down. And then look off to the side there. Yeah, that's good. Okay. I'll just validate that. For now, it's not super important. We can remesh it and smooth it out later. Let's do our masking tool. So we come off to the right, grab our masking tool. We'll set our pin size to something appropriate. We'll make sure symmetry is turned on and we're showing the line. Right now, symmetry is turned on for the nose, but we don't care about the nose right now. We need to work on this large item. We can just tap that for the head. Now, there's a couple ways to do this. We come in here just like this, and that's fine. That doesn't look horrible. You can also use a select mask, and you can use... yeah, they've got an ellipse tool. So I'll show you what that looks like. You make sure your circle is turned off. We're going to start from center. We'll auto-validate as we do it, and then we just pull out like this. And that's fine. That doesn't look too bad. The resolution's not great, but we can tap and blur it. If you tap on the masked portion, you can blur that out and smooth it out, but that still doesn't look that satisfying. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come up to my Voxel remesh options up here in the menu. I'm going to hit Voxel. I'm going to take this up to about 300 and hit remesh. That way we get a higher resolution. And that way when I'm doing the masking, I get less aliasing along the edges of the ellipse. It's not a perfect method, but that's pretty good. Okay, so those are the two ways that you could do that. It looks like it's not really a perfect ellipse, so we can go back into the mask. We can go to our unmask, and we can kind of wipe along the bottom and take away. You can see, like on the bottom of our Labubu, that some of the bottom of his eyes are slightly trimmed. So we'll do something like that. And then the top of the eye is slightly trimmed as well. And that one might be a little bit trickier to do. Something like that. Okay. And then it looks like it might be a little bit wider. I'm using this unmask tool, by the way. Sorry, I didn't say that explicitly. This will let you erase. With the mask combined with unmask, will just let you erase. And then you can deselect it and you can do some more masking again. And it looks like this might need to be a little bit wider than what I had before. So we'll come in, just make it a little bit wider like that. And that's fine. I accidentally selected unmask, but that's fine. I'm just going to come here and trim the edges of this. If you don't have a steady hand, you can always come back and either redo it, or you can turn on up here in your stroke function. You can actually turn on this lazy rope stabilizer and stroke smoothing. You can turn these on, and I'll show you what that does. It makes this little rope that can follow your pen. And so it keeps, if your hand's not super steady, You can use that to do some of the work for you. If your hand's like super shaky, like sometimes my hand can be a little bit shaky. Or something like that. Okay. I think it would feel better if I have just a little bit more on that outside edge here. It's usually best to just do this in one stroke, but this is fine. Okay. Roughly something like that. Let's trim a little bit more off the edge. Right here. Right here. Okay. So we've done enough of the masking. What I'd like to do now is we're going to invert this mask. And I'm going to sink this in a little bit. So I'm going to do my gizmo tool. I'll turn off to the right side here of the face, and I'm going to grab this blue arrow and pull backwards a bit. Ooh. And we see here, common mistake that even I, having done this so many times, I make. And if you're a new student to this, you'll likely make the same mistake. I see it happen a lot. We did not turn on front-facing vertex when we were doing this earlier. And because we didn't do that, our masking went all the way through the head of our Labubu. So we just need to come back here and mask that off like that. When we turn on that front-facing vertex, that's that little eyeball in the triangle icon. Okay, let's try that again. We'll turn on our gizmo tool, and then we can pull backwards like this and sink in the eyes. And now I can tell that actually the eyes aren't sunk in that much. It's only a little bit. Should just be enough that you can tell it's sunken in, but you know, like not too bad. And I can also see that just based on the shading of our Labubu around the eyes, that that's kind of curved. So the skin kind of curves around the eyeball there. So what we'll do is we'll clear the mask. Let's remesh so that we get clean voxels on this area. We're going to hit our smoothing tool, make sure that it's large enough, and then we'll come back and smooth out that area. You just want to be careful doing this because you'll lose some of the resolution. But this should give us that kind of soft transition effect. So that we got the sunken in eyes. And then we could go one step further and do, I would say maybe we'd try a pinch first. Yeah, I think that's a safe one. So we can pinch that, and it kind of like creases that edge to give it that accent that we're seeing of the skin coming up around the eye. And I think that looks pretty good. And let's see here. You know what? It looks like there's an opportunity for us to actually make eyeballs to stick in here. So what we'll do is we'll click add. Let's add a sphere. Let's turn mirroring on before we do any movement with the sphere. Let's bring it over, shrink it down, bring it forward, shrink it down again. Let's fit it into this eye socket. We'll use this green dot to stretch it in the vertical direction. We'll use the blue dot to shrink it so that it's not so that it doesn't stick out so far. And then we'll pull it forward with the blue, shrinking or flattening it you can kind of see what we're doing. We're flattening with that blue until we get it roughly into position like that. And we use the red and blue, add blue until we get something that looks correct. All right. Good enough. We'll hit validate. Let's go ahead and remesh that up to a couple hundred. Turn on our smoothing tool, kick our smoothing up, and we'll just smooth out that eyeball real quick. What's nice is we can always go back. If we don't like the way this looks, we can always go back and we can use like the move tool up here on the right, make that larger, and then we can like grab that and stretch it out to fill in the voided areas that we're seeing. Bring it a little closer to the edge, just like that. And it won't have too much negative impact to the way this looks. Let's see here. I still want to smooth this out a bit more around the edges. Super satisfied with how smooth that looks. Something like that. All right. That's pretty accurate to what we're trying to do. Okay, and eyebrows, that's an easy one. We'll come down to our inflate tool here on the right. We'll turn this up kind of big. I'm going to turn the intensity down a bit because I don't want to make a huge mess. And I'm going to come here and I'm just going to make a few strokes above the eye, just like that. And that's probably good enough. We probably don't need to do much more than that. We'll just double check it from the side and make sure it's not sticking out too far. And I think that's fine. That looks good. Labubus, they have a tendency to have like kind of a little bit angrier looking face. So we'll add a little bit more inflate to the inside of it to just give it a little more aggressive look, maybe. Something like that. And then we can come back and smooth it out a little bit. So it looks like this comes down a little bit more. So what we can do is we can inflate along this bottom edge here to make it look a little angrier. And I think that does do a good job of making it look angrier, but it's not as smooth as we need. Oops. Keep accidentally touching the side of the head. And that looks pretty good. We can remesh this again as we're going, because the more you stretch out the pixels, the harder it's going to be to keep things smooth and adjust them right. But yeah, that's almost correct. It really does seem like there's a lot of inflation along the bottom edge of that eyebrow to give it the effect that it's coming over the eyeball. So I'm just kind of hitting it with the inflate tool and then smoothing and inflate and smooth until I get something that looks like the original picture. Okay, I think that's fine. All right, let's turn our attention back to this nose. And that one's pretty simple. We've got the nose, it's already in position. All we gotta do is stretch it to make it look correct. What I'll do is I'll turn on my gizmo tool here. I'm gonna stretch it out this way. And then I'm gonna use up here in the top right, I'll grab my move tool, turn down the size a bit. Don't need it too big. And then I'm just gonna stretch it. Oh, we gotta make sure symmetry is turned on and it's set to local before we do that. And then we'll stretch it up like that. And then we can turn the size up a little bit more, and then we'll just pinch it inwards like this to give it more of that triangular shape. And it is sticking out too far, so we'll grab our gizmo tool. We'll grab the blue circle and just flatten it out like that. And then we can bring it just a little more out and tilt it just a tiny bit down to match the contour of the face. And I think that looks presentable. Okay, that out of the way, looks like we need to do the mouth. Now, I'm going to crease the mouth. I think that'll be okay. We're going to be on the head. Make sure our local symmetry and everything is turned on. I'm going to turn on my lazy rope stabilizer kind of high this time. And because the likeliness of my hand shaking a lot while I'm trying to do this is pretty high. And all I want to do is pull down and across like that. Now, I do have a slight curve here in the middle, and I might be able to smooth that to where it's not so bad. That's okay, you can barely notice it. That should be good enough. The teeth will probably hide some of that as well. Okay. And now we're going to do our kind of first fancy trick. We'll do that array. Actually, what we'll probably use up here is we'll probably end up adding in a curve. I think will be the right thing to do. But what I want to do first, actually, I'm going to use a copy of our nose, because that's about the shape that we need in order to do the teeth. The teeth are very similar shape to the nose. I've made a clone of it. I'll pull it down into position. We'll leave it there for now. And what we'll do is I want to make sure that it's thin enough. That looks toothy and thin enough, maybe. We'll make it a little bit thinner. We're gonna click on our add in curve. And as you can see, I've got two of these now. We're going to have to do a couple magic tricks. One, I'm going to turn on my snap. And then I'm going to grab this blue ring here and flip it. Oops. I need to make sure that I'm not selecting the curve when I do that. I need to select the sphere inside the curve. Flip it like that. That way I've got... Yeah, you know what I mean. So it's side by side, even though it's kind of in a vertical shape position right now. And then we're going to select the curve. We're going to select this, the curve alignment tool or line tool. And we're going to come across like this. I'm going to put one on each end. I've got snapping turned on. And what that will do is it's going to force this object to stick to the face wherever I'm dragging this, which is perfect. I've also got B-spline turned on, which is going to smooth out our curve. So I'm going to pull this down like here, 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 and here. And this is going to be a little obnoxious trying to get it into place, but you're going to end up fighting this just as hard as I am, I think. So once we got that there, we can come up here to our count and slide this up. So it looks like he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 teeth, which is not what we're going to get. If I click 9, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, well, we do get it. And there's another thing that we need to do for our snapping, we have this offset, which we can use. And what's cool is, I mean, it's not going to change it right now, but with the snapping, if we set this offset higher, then when I come in and move these teeth into their positions, it's going to pull them towards the camera a bit. And it keeps me from having to do too much fancy footwork to maneuver this into place. I can just use that offset to kind of pull them into place. And then I can come back down into my sphere, turn this snap tool off, and then I can curve this or angle this using, we're going to use our orange ring here, angle this so that the teeth are now aligned with the face, contoured correctly to the face. And if I'm happy with that, which I think that I am, I can kind of work on the shape a little bit more. It looks like the teeth could be a little bit sharper than what we had for the nose. So we can use our move tool again, and we can just push this into place to make the teeth look a little more angled. Can pull outwards and inward until we get the angles on the teeth the way we want. And I can also, most of the teeth should be touching, so I can just grab my gizmo tool again. I can grab that orange ring and make them a little bit bigger so that they're touching edge to edge, roughly. Looks like Labubu teeth are always kind of janky, if I can use that word to describe it. They're like not quite ever symmetrical or correct looking. They just kind of look a little weird. They look a little bit weird. So I'm gonna curve the teeth just in a little bit more, like that. And then I can also use the blue to help me, instead of having to go back and play with the curve tool and where it's set, I can just grab this blue arrow and move it back and forth to get it sunken into the face correctly. And I think I'm pretty happy with that. I think that looks fine. We could probably adjust it a little bit more, pushing it maybe into the face a little bit more. Because I mean, it's kind of directly sunken into the face. I think I'm going to have to adjust the actual curve though, in order to get this correct. So we'll select this and we'll pull this into position on the outside. Again, for my offset, I can turn the offset down a little bit more so that it sinks in better. For my snapping tool, I was trying to avoid this because it's a little tricky to get these to line up right, but I think that's good. Okay, cool. Teeth, check, done. We'll go ahead and we could validate this and uninstance them. We can join them all as a single object, or we can instance them. I would say, because of the way the teeth are, we're going to uninstance these. But we could do that at the very end. We don't need to do that right now. So this validation, we don't actually need to click that. All the validation is going to do is just, it's going to turn it into just a regular model. The only the only time that you're going to need to validate things like that is when you need to like make each one slightly different, which, I mean, it does need to be. But for now, I'm not going to spend too much time on heavy detail right away. I try and get everything into position first, and then I'll work on that kind of stuff. I'll work on the details at the very end of my project. Okay, so we've got that done. We've got nose, eyes, kind of done. Eyes could use a touch more work. Let's make the pupils of the eyes. Why not? So, pupils. Pretty easy. We'll just use our masking tool again. We're masking that inner eye area. A couple ways to do this. You can just draw in the mask like this. That's fine. You could also, again, go into your select mask and use your ellipse tool. And it looks like this character is looking slightly off to the right, which presents a little bit of a challenge because we've got symmetry turned on right now. And if as I move towards the center, the other side moves towards the center. Maybe somebody in the comments can tell me if there's a good way to do this. Okay, so there's some other tricks that we could do. I don't know if I would do this. It's probably fine. We'll try it. What we could do is when we're done, we can just rotate one of these eyes. When we validate it, we can just rotate one of the eyes. And that way everything's lined up, everything's in sync, and it looks good. How do I want to do this? I probably just want to do an extract just so it doesn't, so that I'll have more control over this later. Oops. So I'm going to select my camera view. I'm going to turn off to the right. And I'm going to show you what this looks like. So we're going to select that lasso shield icon up here. And, oh boy, that's fine. I forgot to turn on front vertex again. Let's do solo. That shows only this object. We can go back to the backside of it. Click unmask, click front vertex only, and then let's click the masking tool. Again, front vertex only, unmask, and then just fix the backside of this. So I don't do that. That's kind of embarrassing. That's fine. I have a feeling some of you watching this video will probably make a similar mistake. It's really common. I do it a lot. It's okay. We're human, supposedly. Okay, so I'm going to deselect solo so that I can see what this looks like. I'm going to click this shield icon up here. Now, what we're doing is we're looking at a pre-render of what the extraction is going to look like. So I'm going to come down here to height, and I'm going to shrink this down to where it's like barely extracted. We don't need it extracted very far. I'm going to make sure that my smoothness is on and turned up a bit because I need this to be a pretty smooth extract. And then we can just click the extract. And now we can clear that, that mask. And now we have something that looks pretty nice. And then I can take that extraction. We can probably validate this now. That's probably fine. We'll uninstance it. We'll validate it. Now we've got two spheres here, and then we got two extractions here. It's probably better to have it organized more like this, where I've got left and left extraction on one set, and then the right and right extraction on another set. And then I can take this, use my gizmo tool, and I can move it off to the right and turn it and move it off to the right. Maybe pull it back in. And that way I can have that looking off to the right effect that we have. It's a little tricky, but we can do something kind of like that, and then just rotate it to where it's supposed to be. Just like that. And now it's looking off to the right. And this eye, we'll pull it in to where it's kind of close to the inside. We'll rotate until it's kind of even, and then extract it outwards, or pull it outwards just a little bit, just like that. And now we've got the similar effect of him, our Labubu, looking off to the right. All right. So, let's see here. What time are we at? We're about 45 minutes in. Okay. So, I guess what we could do real quick, I'll do the ears and then we'll close out this video because I don't want to make each one of these videos too long. And then we'll make a part 2 of the series where we work on maybe the body and the clothes. So let's go ahead and do the ears real quick. So what we're going to do is we're going to click add. Now we've got this on gizmo and then select gizmo when we're adding a tool up here. If you have these checked, if I added a sphere right now, it's going to add it right where the eyeball is, but I want to add it where the head is. So I'm going to add a sphere where the head is. We're going to click on that mirror tool again. We're going to pull this up, shrink it down, stretch it out, shrink it down again, stretch it out until it looks like appropriate. And then we can come off to the side here. We'll grab our blue dot and flatten this a bit more like that. And I've always noticed that Labubu ears are always kind of angled slightly inward like that. Yeah, that makes sense. Before we do that though, I want to take advantage of that, the symmetry that we were leaning on to a little bit earlier. If we validate this sphere and the way it is right now, kind of thin and slightly in place like that, we can see that the ears kind of retain its width here in the middle. So if I turn on symmetry, local symmetry, and then we do Y symmetry, and then I stretch it with the Y, yeah, it stretches and kind of retains the width there in the middle. And that is kind of more the look that I'd like to go for. All right, so we've done that. We'll shrink it down just a touch. More like that. And now we have something that looks more like the original model. And then all we gotta do is then slightly tilt in the ears. And it's not a lot, it's just a subtle tilt that I've noticed on these. And yeah, it's maybe a little bit further back on the head than normal. Something more like that. I think that's right. Okay, that should be enough progress for today that we can move on to work on the, in the next video, we can work on the body composition and extract out the t-shirt that he's wearing and the corduroys from that, and make the buttons and the pockets and make that look pretty nice. Maybe we'll see. The fingers and the feet could take a while. We'll see how far we get in the next video. But again, thank you for joining us. I'm so sorry for the long wait for a video upload. Hopefully I'm doing something that you find interesting and that you would like to get into, or you'd like to model yourself. Labubus are pretty popular. A lot of people are trying to 3D print Labubus. So this is an opportunity to follow along and make your own Labubu so that you can make it look the way you want to look, and maybe you can print it out, or maybe you know a friend that has a 3D printer that can print it for you. But again, thank you for watching up to this point. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And if you liked the video, go ahead and hit the like button. And if you'd like to subscribe, go ahead and hit the subscribe button so that you can get notified when we get part 2 of this series up, or any of our future videos. But again, thank you all for your support, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next video.